the gaming table today, we're taking a look at Death to the Romans, another strength and honor battle. This is the short version. I'll put up a longer version of this same video later. So here we have a battlefield that features quite a lot of terrain. We've got quite a few little woods here, a village in the middle, and some rough ground on the flanks. And we've got a fairly strong force of Romans going up against a very large force of Gauls. So with the two armies deployed, the Romans at the bottom and the Gauls at the top, the Gauls have put all of their cavalry on their right flank to the left of the picture, whereas the Romans are forming a line between two patches of woods here. In the first turn, the Gauls move up, mainly with their cavalry on the right, and the Romans move a little in response, although a couple of failed orders stop them from getting into a complete line. The Gauls then try a little bit of maneuvering around on the side here, but it doesn't look that organised. And the Romans, again, trying to move up, get a little bit closer and manage to block off some of the access to their flank. Here's the view from the Roman side as they wait for the Gauls' next move. In their turn, the Gauls try and reorganize their cavalry, however they fail, and it gives the Romans another chance to move. They bring their auxilia up, and so they manage to form a line with most of their legions. Here, one of the legions on the flank charges ahead and disrupts that cavalry line further, pushing them back but leaving them a little exposed. The Roman general, looking on, sees the action in the distance and smiles relatively approvingly. Over here, the Gallic general decides he needs to get his cavalry under command and gets them back into line again, ready to face off against the legion. Some more cavalry makes its way through the woods here, getting ready to try and exploit the gap between the legions. And the warbands on the left keep moving forward. Here, the Gallic general, looking on from his extreme position on the right flank, sees things progressing as he intends. The Romans manage to bring some of their auxilia forward to try and support their legion, but there's not much action here. While on the other flank, the legions just face off against the warbands in the distance. On the right flank here, the Gallic cavalry charge in again, this time pushing back and disrupting the legion, giving them a lot of problems and putting them in disorder. The Gallic general, looking on as his warbands approach, sees things progressing in his favour. If he can get around this forest and get towards the Roman baggage camp there, the Romans will be distraught and probably will flee the field. However, the Roman legion in front of his cavalry manages to recover from its disorder and prevents a blockage to his plans. Seeing this, he takes his own cavalry unit and tries to swing around the forest to catch the Romans unawares. The Romans try to move their legions forward to get to grips with the warbands before they are charged themselves. However, only one of their legions manages to make any reasonable progress forward, leaving itself rather exposed. The Gauls take advantage of this, driving it back in disorder on the left, and on the right flank here, pushing in towards the legion again. In the centre, they have a very good chance to attack the general's legion, which is in the middle, just behind the field, and they prepare a charge. However, that charge falls flat when the Romans hold the line. The Roman general, looking on, sees his left flank in trouble, while his right flank is also in a little bit of trouble with some exposed and disordered legions. On the left, the legion engages the cavalry, but it's a standoff. While on the right, the legions try to charge into the warbands, and even with re-rolls, they don't manage to get the result they're looking for. The Gallic general manages to get his cavalry around the flank and threatens the Roman baggage train. Then things start to fall apart for the Romans. A frenzied warband drives back one of the legions in disorder, and some Gallic cavalry pushes forward into the legion, driving it back into its supporting auxilia. Another warband drives back the general's unit in the middle of the field, while over on the right flank, the Romans fail their discipline tests and start falling back in disorder. Even in the centre here, the warbands manage to push through the village and drive the auxilia out of the forests and approach the baggage train from a new direction. The Roman general, getting desperate, tries to pivot and catch these warbands in the flank. However, he doesn't manage to cause any great damage. And from a bird's eye view, we can see that the Romans are disjointed and ready to be charged. The warbands here see the general's legion's flank fully exposed, charge on in and manage to drive him back and wound him as well. Then the left flank starts to break down in disorder as cavalry push forward, and the general's unit also pushes in from the side, disrupting the auxilia and sending them packing as well. Finally, here the warbands again push through into the auxilia, drive them back out of their position, and even the frenzied warbands get stuck in here, managing to drive back one more legion that had recovered from disorder recently. And on the very extreme flank, the warbands do it again, just continually pushing these Romans back and driving them to disorder. And so with the Roman line falling apart in all places, the Gallic player calls Homunculus Est, and the Romans exceed their break point here with 20 points versus a break of 17. The Gallic commander looks on with pleasure as he gets ready to push the Romans from the field and loot their baggage train. So that was a quick battle for Strength and Honor. I'll put up the full version, the longer version of the video shortly with a lot more of the dice rolls and showing the individual pieces of action. But I hope you enjoyed that little game for now. That's all for today. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again real soon.